We are on.
Alrighty. Hi guys, I'm gonna let everyone join in here today. Hi Melissa. Hi Susan. Hi Mary Ellen. Hope everyone's having a great day today. So it's I don't know. I'm not sure about everybody else, but it's starting to get a little bit cold, going to fall, and I realize I'm like, I don't have enough long sleeves yet for winter. So I gotta go shopping this weekend a little bit before the event. So hi Liz. Hi everyone. Everyone's joining in here today. So oh my. Alrighty, so as everyone's joining in, I'm going to give it another minute. So, are we on YouTube yet?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, I have a really fun day for you guys today. So, Kathy and Mary Lou are both away on vacation before the event. So, today I'm going to step in and I'm going to show a lot of cool things with the Scan and Cut, the Print Moda, and the Brother embroidery machines. Specifically, this is going to apply today for the Avenir, the Luminaire, and the Stellaire with a really cool feature I'm going to show you guys. So I'm kind of letting everyone join in. And while everyone's still joining in, I do want to give a really special shout out to Trisha. I crushed my finger a few weeks ago and she said, you need a sewing machine Band-Aid. And she sent me a cute little card in the mail here with sewing machine Band-Aids in there. So there's one with a measuring tape and I absolutely love these. I want to know where she got these from. So Trisha, thank you so much. That was really nice of you. But yeah, I'm going to jump straight into it today. So today we're finally going to do another little episode on the Scan and Cut. And I'm going to show you guys the most basic thing everyone wants to see, and that's how do we cut fabric? And that's the number one question I get asked, and there's a lot of different ways you could do it. I'm going to show a few today, and I'm actually going to stitch out one of the awesome and lovely designs from Lisa and Sue with We Love to Stitch from their one collection, Holiday in a Hurry 3. And I'm going to stitch that out on a tea towel. And I'm going to show you guys how easy it is. You could use your Scan and Cut to cut out your applique pieces, which comes in handy so much, especially if they're very intricate or even basic, and how to do that properly so that it comes out perfect every single time. So we're going to start off right here with the Scan and Cut, and right here I have my fabric mat. So what we're going to do here is whenever we're cutting fabric, we do want to use the fabric mat, and we're going to do our fabric face down. Now, I have made this mistake so many times, and I'm going to let Kate zoom in really quickly if the camera could pick it up. I accidentally placed the paper side down of my hotfix on the mat. And whenever you do that, it does kind of ruin the mat. We can scrape this up. It just takes forever. So one thing I have learned is always do the fabric face down. Don't do the paper back on the fabric mat because that will ruin it. And this is a brand new mat I had this morning, and I already ruined it a little bit. I still have half of the side that's really good. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we are going to apply Featherweight Hotfix to the back of our fabric. And for this Christmas tree from Lisa and Sue, I'm going to show you guys too how you can make your own fabrics if you don't have the right fabric using the Print Moda. So I'm going to cover that a little bit later, but let me start first with separating the design. So we're going to jump over here to the screen of the Scan and Cut, and I have my little USB in the side of the machine with the design on it. Now, as long as you have a running stitch for your applique, you can load that into the machine. And there's two ways of doing it. I'm going to show the harder way first, just in case if you have a design that doesn't have that little yellow stitch on it that says applique stitch. Otherwise, there's an easier way of doing it, which I'm going to show a little later with one of the built-in designs on the Brother. But we're going to go to Retrieve Data, and we are going to go to the USB icon. So if you have a PES design that is like this applique tree from Lisa and Sue or any other designs that use applique, we can put that onto a USB stick and we could load that in there. And it's the first one right here. So we're going to tap this and it's going to bring up our design. Now, if this was digitized using a Brother software, you would be able to hit this shield icon and it would automatically detect the applique stitch. Now, they use really nice softwares, but we're going to have to manually separate this. So if you ever run into a design like this that you know the stitch is there and you can't use the shield icon, we'll use the flower icon. So we'll tap on this, and we're just going to keep everything the exact same, and we're going to hit OK. And now that gives us 3 separate options. So this first one separates the designs. This middle one kind of groups them all together, but we want this last one with all the stitches. So we're going to select this one, and we're going to hit OK. And now this is really important here. I've forgotten to do this so many different times. We have to ungroup it. So it's this middle button right here. And then we're going to hit set. So now that we did that, the PES file loads right into the machine. So if you have a Kimberbell design or really any design with applique, you could do this. And when we tap it, it's going to select all of them. Let's tap off side of it. And now let's just tap that little star. And we're going to go into edit. And we're going to delete. We're going to delete every single thing except the tack down stitch for the applique. So we could hit delete. We're going to hit OK. We're going to hit delete. We're going to hit OK. And then we're going to cycle through all of those. Now we could also use these little arrows up here to go through the different parts of the design, and it's going to highlight them in a red box. So that's a nice thing to do. Now, I'm going to make this really easy on myself. I'm just going to separate all the designs I don't need. So I don't need the satin stitch, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to delete the candle wicking right here. I'm going to take this fill stitch and delete that as well. I'm going to delete this double row of stitching right here. I'm going to delete the star. I'm going to delete this other little star. And then I'm going to delete the little tree stump. So that leaves us with just the straight stitch for the tack down for our applique. And just to double check, there's 2 of them. We're going to delete one of them and making sure there's nothing else on there. We're good. So we are going to hit OK. That's all we want. So I'm now going to jump into the next step here, and that's going to be preparing our fabric. And there's a lot of different ways you could do this. Specifically today, I am showing for Hotfix applique, which is what I like. You don't have to use Hotfix on the back of it if you don't like that. I do like it, however, though, when I'm fusing it, and it prevents it from bubbling up, which is what I really do like. So we are going to take our Hotfix, and we are going to measure to the size of our fabric. And I'm just going to cut it slightly shorter. And so we're going to do that. Now we're going to fuse this to the back side of this fabric. And guys, look at this. You can print out your own custom fabrics on the Printmodo. We haven't showed this before. So yeah, we all know that you could print out your own custom photos, but what about your own custom fabrics? I just think that's awesome, and it's amazing for applique, just like this. So sometimes you can't find the right fabric, and it's like, oh, I'm looking and I can't find anything, and it's like, well, if you have your Printmodo, you could just print any one that you want. So I'm also going to use my favorite today, guys, the Laura Star with that dry microfine steam, and we could just use this as a dry iron to fuse that Hotfix to the back. And I'm a little limited on space here today, guys, so I'm sorry that I have like the scan and cut right next to the ironing mat.
Someone is asking, is there a certain blade to cut the fabric for the scan and cut?
So yeah, I'm going to actually talk about it. Now, there's a few different blades you could use. And I want to say this off the bat. There is not a right or wrong way to doing this. I know a lot of people have their specific ways that they like, but you could use the method that you prefer best. Some people prefer the rotary blade for everything. Some people prefer the standard cut blade for everything. And some of us like that fine cut auto blade. So it all kind of depends on your projects, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later too, just to kind of go over what I use which ones for. Now I am going to take our fabric and we are going to place this right side down. So the fabric side down to the mat. Now it's not going to fully stick throughout the whole mat because I did have some of that paper there. So that is just one thing to note, is make sure that you don't put the paper side down of your hot fix on your mat, because that makes it incredibly hard to not only cut but also peel off, and it kind of ruins the mat a little bit. And then I forgot my brayer, so what really does come in handy is one of these brayers. So this is a little fabric roller, and this helps get all the bubbles out of it. And I am just going to open this real quick so that I could use this one. So Katie, or Kathy, Hot Fix is not the same as Shapeflex. So they are different. Hot Fix is, think of it like a double-sided glue adhesive for your fabric. So there's a paper backing that peels off, and then Shapeflex is a woven cotton interfacing. And so we're going to take our brayer and we're going to roll out all of those bubbles. It's really important that we do this so that we have a nice even cut. Now, if we don't do this, what can happen is the blade could pick it up and start to shift the fabric off of the mat, and we don't want that. So whenever you are using your scan and cut, it's very important you get these air bubbles out and get your fabric nice and adhered to the mat. Otherwise, it's not going to stick and it's not going to cut properly. So we're now going to insert this into our tray here. So whenever we take our mat, it's really important too that we use this load and unload button on the side. So this is what's going to load in our mat. So we're going to line it up right here along the side. I'll have Kate switch right along to the rollers here. And we're going to do that evenly. And then we'll hit the load button. And it will recognize the mat, which type it is too. So it's going to do its little check. And then now we can scan in. So because this is white, this is going to be a little bit harder to see. And then we're just going to hit this scan button right here. So we're going to hit start. And there's also a little tray in the back of the scan and cut that pulls out on this side to kind of even out the mat. So we'll switch back to that in a second. It's on the back side, so make sure you pull out that tray too whenever you use your scan and cut. I'm going to shift a little bit so Kate can see right here. So this pulls out from the back, and it also slides back in. But whenever you're cutting, make sure that you pull that out, just because that really does make a difference with leveling out your mat. Think of it like your hoop, especially if you have a Radiance or Avenir. There's that little extension table in the back. So think of that like the same thing for your scan and cut. Now, we are going to line this up right over here on this side, and we're going to just cut out our fabric. So I think that should be good enough. And what's really important is the next steps here. So we lined it up, and this is what I love about the scan and cut, is you can scan in what is on your mat here. Now, I could have this fabric crooked sideways. If I was just cutting out the fabric without Hot Fix 2, I could do the pattern side faced up. And if you are going to cut out just fabric, no Hot Fix, no paper backing or anything, use some Best Press. It does stiffen it a little bit, and you really do want that. It makes it a little bit easier to cut and work with. But now what we're going to do is line it up. So I just dragged my image over the spot that I could see. And it's a little hard for the camera to pick up, but I can kind of see it on my end. And we'll hit OK. Now it's going to do this next step, and it's going to say, please select. So we're going to select cut, but we have different options here. So with the scan and cut, not only can you cut fabric, but you could also draw, you can emboss, you could do foil gluing, you could pierce. So there's a lot of other options, but we're going to do cut. And now the next step is we're going to make sure that half cut is off. Now, if on your scan and cut, it does say that half cut is on, we'll go to this little gear icon and we will go down to the second page and make sure that up top here, half cut is turned off. That's really important for what we're doing here with applique. You'll want to use half cut for maybe like vinyls and stuff like that that have a backing that you're going to weed out. But for our appliques here, we want to cut through both layers because with the ScanNCut SDX 325 and 330, it has auto pressure. So whenever the blade goes down, it senses how many layers and how thick it is, and it will automatically adjust the pressure for cutting out that fabric perfectly. Think of it just like the automatic fabric sensor system on most of our machines. When the foot comes down, it senses how thick it is with the material and will automatically adjust the pressure. So that's a great feature. I know not a lot of other cutting machines have that out there. So that's why I always say the ScanNCut is the best out of all of them. And now we're going to hit start. So before I do this, I'm going to talk a little bit about blades. So what you'll see a lot online is for whenever you're cutting through paper, they say use the standard blade, so the auto cut blade. And this is great for everything just about. I'm going to use the fine cut auto blade. I just happen to like this. This is a personal preference here. What you're going to use this one a lot for is actually more delicate materials too. So I don't know if the camera would be able to zoom in that much, but whenever we hold this, we could see this is the fine cut blade. Wow, we are able to zoom in. This is a really good camera. So that's the fine cut, and this is standard cut. So you could use either or. I'm going to just try the fine cut. I did this one before with the other one I did, and I happen to like it. You could also use the rotary cutter blade as well. Some people prefer that for just everything with fabric. You might want to just consider not doing the rotary cutting blade with hotfix and paper on the back, just because it could dull it a little bit faster. So I'm going to hit start.
Someone asked, don't you want to place it on the left side?
I want it on this side right here, because this was the side that stuck down to the mat because I had that hotfix on. Did I flip my mat? Well, we'll find out, guys. So, but I did see somebody ask, do you mirror image? For this tree, because it was perfectly symmetrical on each side, I'm able to get away without mirroring the image. Now, for what I'm going to show you guys at the end, and you have to tune in this whole show. So I'm going to give a little sneak peek. This is an exclusive feature on the Stellaire, the Luminaire, and the Avenir. And this is with the My Connection feature, where you could take any design and actually turn a step of it into applique. So I'm curious with a section of comments here, do we all recognize this monogram from our machines? But this monogram regularly is not applique. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this a little bit more towards the end. Hopefully I got enough time to squeeze that in today, because I think it's a super awesome feature. So once you connect your ScanNCut to your Stellaire, Luminaire, or Avenir, you're going to be able to unlock this feature, and it's just so good, guys. When we get to it, you're going to be blown away. So do you use hotfix when you're doing an embroidery design on your machine, or do you use it for the ScanNCut? I can use it for both. Sometimes we even do our regular applique with just the hotfix, because I do like that once you press it down, it's permanent, and it's like, it's stuck there, it's good. We don't have to worry about it like bubbling up, especially if it's a quilt and we're washing it or a little wall hanging. So now we're going to hit finish, and let's go ahead and eject the mat. And I think that's all we're going to use our ScanNCut for right this second. So I'm going to use my weeding tool. We're going to pick up our applique. So we're going to peel off and weed. Now, there's some other things too that I want to mention. Oh yeah, you guys were right. I did want to do this on the opposite side. I might cut out another one just in case.
I think you did flip them.
I might have flipped my mat around. But I still have my applique piece right here. I'm just going to cut out another one because I can, because I have this side. So I think when I had it this way, and then I did flip it around. Thank you for whoever pointed that out. So multiple people. But hey, you know what, guys? We make mistakes here at times, and then we tell you how we fix them. So I'm just going to cut out another one just to have it. And then let's do, I'm just going to drag it to this side here. Alrighty. So I'm going to jump over to the machine actually real quick because I'm going to just get this set up for us. So Lisa and Sue are just amazing, guys. So their Holiday in a Hurry collection, if you weren't here, what was that, 2 weeks ago on Thursday night? Their samples, I almost say the camera just doesn't do it justice at times. It does do good justice, but seeing them in person were just absolutely amazing. Their work is just jaw-dropping, to say the least. Their digitizing is just so crazy good. Like, I want to know how they do it. I want to learn how to be just as good as they are. So whenever we start our design now, we do have that section. I think it's a little bit later. So I think it's pewter. So I just loaded that Christmas tree in here, and I'm going to go to skip a couple steps real quick. So yeah, it's going to be the second step with the position. So we're just going to hit OK, and we're going to start from the beginning. So we're going to do the little stump of the tree first. That's how their design is programmed. So what I did over here is I hooped a tea towel, and I am going to do this on a tea towel today, just because I think this would look super cute above my stove. So, and that's what I love, is that you could use all of those designs as separate embroidery files as well. You don't just have to use it for a quilt. And I just used 2 pieces of tearaway on the back side of it. So I'm going to just slide the hoop in real quick, and we're going to just start embroidering out the little tree stump. And I'm just going to go with colors as we go here. I did not grab specific colors, so I'm just going to randomize it a little bit. And I think I'm going to use a gold for the tree stump here and match it to the top of the star. So let me just thread the machine, and I'm going to start embroidering that so that I could show you guys the applique step. And then let me do move, and I'm going to position this to the bottom here. And we're going to hit start and let it go. So there we go. I think that side cut out a lot better without the big mess of the sticky part, or the paper that was on here. So thank you guys for calling that out for me. So I'm just going to eject that, and now I'm going to weed this fabric here. So you could
ask, sorry.
Yeah.
What do you use to make a mat sticky again after you use it?
So there's a couple things you could do. Now, what I recommend is you take a unscented baby wipe in between every single use technically and wipe it down. And this is going to keep it nice and fresh. It has to be unscented. The scented ones can mess with the stickiness of your mat. And then what you could do in between is, after time, the mats will eventually wear. So keeping them nice and making sure that we're cleaning them in between uses, taking good care of them, is going to protect the longevity of it. So you could use basting spray too to add stickiness to your mat again. That's what I do recommend, because if you guys have been to one of our events before, you guys know Tommy and I, we always do the scan and cut just about. And we can like wear through those mats a little bit after like 6 days with 300 people. So, but that's what we like to use. So I'm going to just peel this part up here. And using the hook and spatula set is super, super handy, especially when you're weeding, because you don't want to accidentally like tear your fabric or anything. And there we go. And I am going to take that paper side and discard that. We want to get rid of that. And then here is the tree for my applique. So we'll position that. At least I think it was symmetrical on both sides. Looked like it. We will find out, guys. So back over here to the machine, we are going to do our placement stitch. So I'm going to switch to a green. You want to do this stitch the same color as your top stitch or your satin stitch, just because it makes it look a lot nicer. Guys, my favorite part, the automatic needle threader. So we're going to just stitch out this part, and then it's going to give us our placement line, and I'm going to show you guys how to properly iron this next step, because there is a right and wrong way to ironing in your appliques. If you kind of smear the iron, it's not going to line it up. So what that scan and cut does is it's cutting it out the perfect size to line up in here. All right, so let's take this out. We're not going to unhoop it, but we are going to go over to the ironing mat here. Now, I love, love, love the Laura Star. You guys know how much I love this. I will say, sometimes with smaller hoop projects and when you're doing the applique and ironing it on, it is nice to have one of the Nifty Notion little mini irons. They're about this big. That's perfect for doing applique in the hoop. That way we're not kind of unhooping everything. Oh my gosh, yeah, okay. I guess it wasn't even on both sides. So learn from my mistake here really quick, guys. Do mirror it. I thought this was perfectly symmetrical, and we can see right here, this part is set for this. When I flip it, it's just a little bit off. So just learn from that. Do mirror this tree. I thought it was perfectly symmetrical. I probably should have mirrored it when I cut out the second one. I didn't even think about it. So, but maybe I could print out a second one. Should I show that guys the print moto while we do this real quick? All right, so we're gonna backtrack just a little bit, and I do apologize, guys. So, but I think Melissa said it, are you gonna mirror it? And I thought it was perfectly symmetrical. My eyes tricked me a little bit. So we're gonna go over here to Artspira. Now, here's what I love. I'm gonna show you guys today, which is why I was printing out our own custom fabrics, is how to combine all three of their machines from Brother. So we're gonna use their cutting, their printing, and their embroidery all together in the same project, which I just think is so cool how all of their machines combine through their app Artspira. So let's hit cancel and go to the home page real quick. So as you guys know, there's so many great things in Artspira. On the home page here, we have embroidery designs, cutting designs, but today I'm going to show you guys printing designs. And we are going to go to, not here, we're going to go to fabric patterns. I'm kind of viewing it upside down, guys, so forgive me, but this way you guys can see. So you can print out your own custom fabrics, which I just think is crazy good. If you can't find the right fabric for an applique, or you don't have something and you're like, oh gosh, it's a Sunday, everywhere's closed, or you guys are ordering from us and you have to wait a couple days till your order comes in, then this is just the perfect solution, and you could print your own custom fabric. So we can scroll, and there's just so many different designs in here. And when we go to the bottom, it's going to load more, or actually, they're separated in categories this way too. So there's like fashion, flowers, checkerboard. This is just awesome. And then you guys could also upload your own prints too, which is really cool. So let's do food and drink. Let's go to holidays and just see if there's anything we like. So I kind of like, I did save the last one, but there's a lot of great ones in here. So I kind of like these. I want to see if I can turn it green. You can play with the colors a little bit. So if we do Christmas pattern and we hit create, it loads it up here. So we're going to change up top here to custom size. And so for the fabric roll, the max width is 11.69. We're going to keep that the same, but we are going to change the inch, and let's just do 12. And then we could just print out a almost 12 by 12 square of fabric like I did before, because that way we're not printing out a big roll if we're only using a little piece. So, and the smallest you could do is 8 inches. And then let's tap on the image itself, and we could go to effect, and we could see how it gives us some different color options. So it uses AI, and it will give you a lot of different ones. A lot of them seem the same, but they are slightly different in shades. So, but I'm gonna go back to the Christmas tree one because I did really like that one. So, and you could also save these for later. I'm gonna just cancel. And so what's nice is if you have something you like, you could save it to the My Creations tab and then set it in right here. And there we go. We can print this out. So we are just going to hit done, and we're going to walk over to the printer here real quick. We're just going to hit print. And there's so many cool different things I absolutely love about the fabric printer. Look how fast this prints. So once the data transfers, there is a little blade in the back of the print motor here, and it's going to cut that fabric roll to the correct length that we programmed it for. So it's not just like spitting out all this fabric and then we got to re-roll it up. It's a smart printer, so it knows to cut that, and that's just absolutely amazing. And we can see it's printing our fabric for us right here. We're going to hit OK. And then we could pull this out. And there we go, just like that. So I should have just showed this from the beginning, guys. So now that we have this, we do need to let this dry for a little bit. Usually it only takes like a minute or two, but there's a couple ways of treating this. For this applique, we're really good for what we're doing here. Now, once this dries, ideally after 10 to 15 minutes, we'll take this to the sink and we'll just rinse this under cold water. It removes any excess ink that didn't lock into the fabric roll, which is amazing because Brothers Technology, you don't have to do anything else to it. Other brands with pre-cut sheets that I found on Amazon, you have to soak them in vinegar, and I don't want to do that. That's gross. I don't like the smell of vinegar. I don't like salt and vinegar chips, and I don't want my fabric to smell like vinegar for sure. So I'm going to stick with the Brother one because all I have to do now, after I would rinse that under some cold water, is I take this back layer, and there's a clear plastic film. And it does help if you have one of those spatula sets. And we're just going to separate that layer. And we could peel. And we're just going to discard this. So what this film is this helps the printer feed that through so that it doesn't get jammed in your printer, because who wants that? So, but once we're done with this, we could discard it. And then we have our fabric. So I'm going to quickly reapply that hot fix again.
Someone had a good recommendation of if you didn't want to print out a whole new sheet of fabric and redo your scan and cut, you could always go back through and remove your stitches from your embroidery and then just mirror the design on your machine.
That was a really good... Who commented that? That's a really good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Well, who commented that?
Gloria Tucker.
Gloria, thank you. If you guys make a mistake like me, you could easily do that and mirror that too. But I'm just going to quickly reapply this hot fix. And we'll just cut one more out. You guys know how the deal is with me. I can be a little all over the place at times, so do forgive me on that. But we're just going to trim off that little excess piece. Let me give this a little bit of a better press. I have a couple wrinkles in there that I want out. And while I'm doing this, I'm curious, guys, what projects have you been working on? I love to see when you guys comment, so hopefully you guys are going to be working on your We Love to Stitch projects, because I just love these. These are amazing. So let's give this one more try. Fabric side down. I almost placed the paper side down. So there we go. Fabric side down, not the paper side down. And we're going to just roll out all those little air bubbles. And then we're just going to recut this out really quickly. And then I can kind of pick up where we left off. So thank you guys for sticking with me, because you guys know I could be all over the place at times. So we'll hit please select. And let's mirror this first. So if you accidentally hit the please select part, just hit one of them. And then that gives us the option to go back. So we're going to go back. We're going to hit edit. And then we're going to hit object edit. And let me get my finger out of the way. So we'll select our design that we're going to cut out. We're going to hit object edit. And then we're going to hit this button right here, which is mirror. And it just flips it the other way. So if your design is not perfectly symmetrical, then we want to mirror it, just so that, because we have the fabric face down, so we have to mirror it. And then we're just going to cut this out really quickly. But if anybody has any questions in the meantime, I do want today to kind of be a little bit of a Q&A too, that I could try to answer any scan and cut questions or Art Spirit questions or any Brother Machine questions. So I kind of have a day here. So if you guys have questions, fire away. I'm going to try to answer as many as I can while we're in between steps like this. So, but yeah, so if I didn't mess this up, we would be stitching right now, and I'd be showing you guys how to properly press this in that spot for applique. So I can kind of talk about that really quickly while we're doing this. And whenever you are pressing your hotfix applique spot, we want to make sure we line this up in these lines exactly. We can't be like 1/8 of an inch off, because then it's not going to line up for our satin stitch. So what I do like about the scan cut is this lines it up for us perfectly. And then we don't have to worry about trying to trim something out later or doing anything else. So once this one's done cutting out, I'm going to be able to show you guys how easy this is. And what I do like is if you are working in a smaller hoop, so like a 5x7 or a 4x4, those little nifty Notion irons come in handy a lot. I could not find an open one, and I didn't want to open like the 5th one. They're somewhere around here. I'm sure, I don't know. When in doubt, who do I blame? Kathy. She had 8 pairs of scissors in her drawer. I'm sure there probably is one in there. Kathy, if you're watching, I love you. So, okay, here we go. So one other really important thing that I do want to talk about is we want to make sure we eject our mat. We don't want to yank this out. So I'm going to just show real quick. We don't want to yank this out. That is going to damage this. So we want to be very careful about this. So we're going to hit this button here, and that ejects the mat. Super, super important. You don't want to accidentally damage your scan and cut. So we're now going to just peel off that fabric. And take off the paper part and carefully peel off our fabric. There we go, just like that. So now we have our applique piece, and we mirrored it to the right side. And so I'm going to move some things out of the way just so Kate could zoom in a little bit better. So super, super important is whenever we go to line this up, we want to be right on the inside of our lines or directly on them. We don't want to be like this. See how there's a lot showing right here? That is going to mess with this. So we want to line it up directly in there. Now I'm going to use my Lorastar, and I'm just going to use just the dry iron. I'm not using the steam here. And I'm just going to take the tip of it and kind of just press down on certain spots first before I fuse the whole thing. So I'm just kind of lining it up. And just with the tip of the iron, that is enough to press that down a lot and start the fusing process of it. Now, the reason I'm saying you don't want to iron the whole thing flat first is because if you were a little bit misaligned, it's not going to line up properly. So I'm just going around the edge and I'm just tapping it. That's all I'm doing is I'm just tapping it. But now I have it lined up, and now I could just press flat, and I'm going to press with a little bit of pressure. So, and then with the Lorastar 2, what I do love is that even just using it as a dry iron, your regular iron can do this, or even those little mini irons for your applique. I do like those. But we just fused it just like that, and that's permanent now. So once you do this, this part's permanent. That's why we really want to make sure we line this up nicely. And now we're going to slide this back into the machine and let it do its satin stitch around it. And then we're just going to hit start. Well, actually, the next stitch it's going to do is it's going to do that second row of straight stitching right around the side of it. So most applique designs, it usually has a placement stitch and then a tack down stitch. So if we were just doing regular applique in the hoop without our scan and cut, we're going to do this next stitch with just the fabric itself. But I like using the scan and cut because it gives me a perfect cut. There's a lot of angles here, and that's just going to take me a really long time to cut. So we could skip past this step entirely if we want to. I just already hit start and I'm going through. But I do kind of like to use it as a secondary lineup check to make sure that I did line up everything where I needed to be. So that's kind of what I do like to still use it as and just stitch it out. Now, the next step is going to be the satin stitch, and we'll just let that stitch out and I'll talk about a couple other different things. But what I really love about this scan and cut is even if we were doing this applique just in hoop, that is a lot of trimming with our squeezy snips. And I know that for a lot of us out there, some of us do struggle with things like arthritis or even just the time consuming aspect of it. So I love that the scan and cut will cut this out perfectly for you. And you don't need any special files. You just need the design itself. Now we're going to do our satin stitch. I'm just going to check out. We're actually on Lisa and Sue's design, they have a fill stitch that goes underneath of it. So I'm going to actually just kind of skip to the satin stitch. Now, that's because I picked out this custom little fabric with the little stars that I printed. So I'm just going to skip this one. And we're just going to go to the plus minus. And I'm just going to go down to the next color. But either way, if you had just a basic fabric, that's a really pretty stitch on there. But because we printed out our own with custom little stars on it, I'm just going to do the satin stitch. So, all right. And now we're going to jump back up here real quick. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions now. So with what I just showed you guys, this is not exclusive to just like the Brother machines with just taking any PES file and plug it in on your scan and cut. So if you do have like a Solaris or Radiance and you want to cut out your appliques, you could just do that with any design file that has that applique positioning stitch. So as long as you put it on a little USB, you can plug it in right into the side of your scan and cut and select, like I showed before, Make sure that you mirror it if it's not perfectly symmetrical, if you're doing fabric side face down on the mat. And then you could do that with your Solaris. So with what I'm going to show next at the end with the exclusive feature, this one you can't do on the Baby Lock. So I'm going to show this a little bit at the end. But I'm going to walk through a couple of things that I've used right now. So the first thing in the bubble is the Brother ScanNCut, the 325. So I can advertise that one. So that one is the non-Disney one. There is no Disney designs loaded in on it, but it's a great one, especially if you have a Baby Lock or even Brother. It works the exact same as the one I'm showing here. The only difference is the Disney designs. Now, if you are a Disney fanatic, like most of us are, and you really do want those Disney designs, you could give Steve and I a call at 412-344-2330, and we could get you set up with one of those Disney ScanNCuts. They are amazing. There's a lot of cute Mickey Mouse designs in there and Minnie that I'm going to show on another day, how you take one of those designs and you're going to turn it into an applique on the machine with IQ Designer or even just a regular embroidery design. Super cool feature. I'm not showing that one today. That is a little bit exclusive to the Brother machines. So I'm going to show one of those two features today. All right. The next one is the 12x12 fabric mat. So this is the mat that I'm using today. And why I like this one is the tack is a little bit less than the standard mat, which makes it perfect when we are putting down our fabrics on it so that they don't like tear up and pull up really hard and then we're fraying all our edges. So that's what I really always recommend, is having an extra fabric mat on hand too, because it's nice to have two of them. And so the next one is the standard tack mat. So that one's really good if we're going to be doing vinyl or really anything else, especially vinyl. You really want the standard tack mat with any vinyl pieces, because whenever we're doing something like a tumbler or a t-shirt with heat pressed vinyl, this mat has a little bit more tack than our fabric mat. So there's just specialty mats for specialty purposes. And then I'm going to go into the blades real quick. And I forgot to mention, I always mention this. How do I forget to mention this for once? Guys, it's still 10% back today. So everything except the machines are going to be 10% back. Other than the Laurastar, there is going to be 10% back on the Laurastar. We're extending that till the end of the month. I'm going to talk about the Laurastar a little bit later too. And so up next is the thin fabric auto blade. And I think I have one in the box too, just so I could show you guys what that looks like. So this is just the blade itself. So these blades do get switched out. So you don't need to buy a new holder every single time you get a blade. You just switch out the blade and you can unscrew this and pop in the new one right there. And so over time, your blade is going to dull, and you just switch it out. So this is the thin fabric auto blade. Now what this is really going to be good for, and I used it today, I happen to like this one the best. This is my favorite. I just think I like the cleaner cut of it better. Some people prefer the standard cut blade and some people prefer the rotary blade. There's a lot of debate online about it. This is just my favorite that I like to use. Tommy does like the standard cut blade, and I know some people only use the rotary blade for fabric. So either one of those three. And like I always say, experiment a little bit and see which one you like the best. That's really a personal preference. But I will say for certain fabrics like chiffon or organza, which we could see they kind of made here on this picture, you do want to use a thin cut blade just because it's a fine fabric and you need a little bit more of a delicate blade to cut those out with the ScanNCut. Especially something like a satin maybe too. You'd maybe want to use that or the rotary blade. Now, this is the auto blade, so your standard one. This is the next one. So that comes with this one. So it's this blade here. And this works great for just about everything, for vinyl, fabrics too. So it's always nice to have the extra blades just in case you run into a different project. And then I do have the rotary blade kit. So you get the holder and the blade itself. And I'm going to say this too. What I like about the rotary blade is because just like our rotary cutters, you might have an easier time doing curved edges as well with the rotary blade. That's one thing I noticed. So like we could even see here, all of these like little pillows that are made, these all have very curved edges. So I think the rotary blade, in my opinion, I find I like a little bit better when we're working with things like circles or anything with a lot of different curves. That's just like one of the things that you really want to kind of double check on is just what project you're doing, what the applique looks like, and picking the right blade for that project. So once again, I'm going to say this, it's more of a preference thing. There's really no right or wrong way to do it, other than putting the paper side of Hotfix face down on your mat. That you want to make sure you put the fabric side down. So, okay. The next thing that we have up in the lineup is going to be the brayer. So, or the 4-inch roller brayer, whichever you want to call it. If you don't have one of these, I recommend getting it because you don't want to be like me at home forgetting to buy one of these and then I used a rolling pin. So it's a little bit easier if you use one of these just because it's more handheld and you're not trying to bake something. We are just doing appliques. So I would definitely get one of these if you don't have it. It just makes it a lot easier and a lot better of a process and result, especially getting those air bubbles out and getting the fabric really tacked down on the mat. Then up next is the scraper tool. So same concept as the brayer, except this is a scraper. I like this for paper a little bit, but also the vinyls really, because sometimes you just get a really stubborn air bubble underneath of it that I sometimes just can't get out with this. So I just use the scraper and scrape it to the direction I need. Then also super important, spatula and hook set. These ones are just so nice. They're a nice long length compared to the little spatula that you get in the box with the Scan and Cut. It also has the metal spatula, which just does make it a little bit easier to pick that up. So I totally recommend getting one of these sets if you don't have them already. Alrighty, so that brings us up to our next things that we could talk about while this is still stitching out. And I'm just going to have Kate switch over to the camera angle real quick. And we could see how that's just stitching out. It lined up perfect. So that's what I absolutely love about the Scan and Cut. If you're going to do holiday in a hurry, there are some good applique designs in there that you could use. And if you follow my steps, just make sure you mirror the image if you place your fabric side down on the mat. Definitely use the Scan and Cut if you have it. It makes those projects just a lot easier. So I know a lot of us do struggle doing that applique. Even me sometimes, I'm sitting there, I'm like, if there's just like so many details to it, I'm like, why didn't I use the Scan and Cut for this? It just makes my life so much easier rather than trying to sit there with my squeezy snips. I was doing an applique leaf and there was just so many different like angles that I was just trying to cut out. I'm like, I should have just used a Scan and Cut. It would have just been way easier. So now, the next step, or next thing that I have in the bubble is going to be the Brother Sublimation Printer Bundle. So in that bundle, you get the extra set of the inks and the sublimation paper along with the printer. And guys, with the event, I'm going to be showing this on the live with what Kate and I are going to do in our room with Cindy for the event. We're doing that sublimation embroidery. And then do I even have it in here? Do I have a sample? I might have one outside. But the sublimation printer, there is really a lot of things you could do, and I've taken the time to learn a little bit more of what you could do with it. So do not tell Kate I almost knocked over her camera while she stepped out of the room. Okay, but with what we could do with sublimation is even things like this. So all these tumblers Tommy made, he made all of these by hand, all 500 of them for our Advent box last time. And this is using sublimation. So this is a sublimation ready tumbler. Now you could do things like that. You can actually do t-shirts with sublimation spray. If you're gonna do a cotton t-shirt, you could do it on quilting fabrics, satin. I'm going to show that probably tomorrow night on our favorite things with the sublimation printer. But we do have the bundle in the bubble there. So if you want to secure a sublimation printer, I'd get them before they go out. I only have so many in stock right now before the next shipment comes in. And then we're going to switch back over to the machine. So the next step looks like it's going to be a little outline stitch. And maybe we could do this in the same color or gold. Do we want to do a slightly different shade of green? I'm going to let Kate pick.
Might as well, yeah.
Let's do a little bit of a darker green. But guys, just look at that. That lined up perfectly for us. So the Scan and Cut has a lot of advantages, especially for all of us. I mean, we all love embroidery. That's our favorite thing. I think that's our number one thing here is really anything sewing, embroidery, and quilting. And this just made our life so much easier to even do a tea towel rather than just snipping all of that out.
So someone asked, are you able to do this with any machine that can, like with the Scan and Cut, or does it have to only be Brother machines?
So, well, with any design, yes. So I'm going to go over that again. We could take any single design we have on our stick here, as long as it's an applique design. You do have to make sure it's an applique design in order to do this. And if it's even a design on the Solaris, let's say, I think there was a few that were applique ones. You could just save that onto the stick from the machine's memory to the USB, and we just plug it in. So that's one of the great features. Now, what I'm going to show a little later is the Scan and Cut can directly talk to the Stellaire, the Luminaire, or Radiance to kind of take out the part of using the USB. But if you don't have one of those machines and you have a Baby Lock, you could still cut out all your applique designs on the Scan and Cut here. So we just take that, we plug it into the side, and we load it like I showed a little bit before. Okay, I think the next thing I have up in the bundle is the Brother Print Moda. And so I'm going to take the time with you guys once again to walk through printing out our own custom fabric again, because I have to pick out a really good one that's a blue color for the next tea towel that I'm going to do. So on our Artspira here, let's go back to new, and we're going to switch to the printing end over here. So we're going to do embroidery, cutting, and printing, and we're just going to go to Design Editor, and we're going to go down to the bottom one here. We're going to hit Custom Size, and that's under Fabric Roll. So I'm just going to show this one more time. Let me hit Cancel. There we go. So Design Editor, and up top here's for our sublimation printer. So if you are printing out sublimation designs, you're going to use this top one here. And then for the fabric printer, we're going to use the bottom one. So we're going to hit Custom Size, and let's just make this another 12-inch piece. So we're going to go to height, and you could print out continuous. That's another thing I want to talk about, which I really love about the fabric printer. I'm going to just show it real quick. So the secondary tray, this is your fabric tray. So your upper tray up here actually does print out regular paper. And we got rid of our other printers here, and Steve and I both use the fabric printers now as our regular printer because it prints so fast. It prints my instructions super quick. All of our receipts that we hand out, all of our handouts, we print everything through to Print Moda just because it's so great on inks. I mean, look at these large inks here. Like, my little printer at home does not compare. I did almost run out of the yellow finally after, I think, months, but it's just a nice big cartridge. And they last really long. At the last fall event, a year ago, when Kate and I first started here, we printed out, I think, over 300 poinsettias that we printed on the Print Moda, we cut out on the Scan and Cut, and we, after that, plus everybody's photo, everybody got a photo. We only went through one magenta cartridge and one yellow cartridge, and that was photos for 300 people, just about. Plus, everybody had a poinsettia that was super detailed. So Now, here's our fabric roll, and then the fabric side is this side, and then you have the shiny side. This is going to be the backing of it that feeds through, that peels off. So we're just going to put that in here, and we're going to roll it up until we get up here. And we do want to make sure this is flipped to blue for the fabric printing side. And we can slide this back in. You also don't have to take this out entirely. You could just kind of do it in on the machine itself. And now we're going to print our own fabric. So let's do 12-inch height. But what's nice is you can print continuous. So we have a lot of great samples around. I forgot to grab them before to show you guys. But you can print out really long wall hangings and banisters that are perfect for lumbar pillows. We're going to hit create. We're going to do background. We're going to hit pattern. And we could see all the different patterns start to show up here. And I do kind of like, I want something blue, I think. Blue, because we're going to do an A for Artspira. So let's pick out this. And sometimes it takes a second to load since we're loading a bunch of different designs. Now I'm going to do the next step real quick on our tree. And I'm just going to put in a red thread for the candle wicking. Okay, we're going to let that stitch out. So let me go back over here. Barbara, you didn't miss the sublimation printer. I kind of only breezed through it a little bit. So I'm going to go a little bit more in depth tomorrow night, I believe. But if I like this fabric right here, I like this design. I think it's going to be perfect for the applique A that I want to do. We're just going to hit done, and it loads it in there. So whenever I tap on this now, it's going to bring me up to direction and effects. If it's directional, we could change the direction of it. And then we could also do effects with it and kind of change a little bit of the tones of it. So it kind of randomizes it. So if I said I want this to be green or maybe purple or like a deeper blue, I'm able to do that. But I'm going to stick with the original, I think. And then hit done.
Someone is asking, does the fabric, like the patterns in Artspira, change throughout the year, or are they always the same?
They add new ones almost every week. Every single week. What I love about that app is they add new designs for everything. Cutting, printing, and embroidery. They add new designs every single week. So you never get tired. And they upload a new weekly inspiration project too, which is just super great. So you always stay inspired and always have a fun project to use your machines with. And they do it for all the machines too. There are 2 printers, their embroidery machines, and the scan and cut. And so now we're going to hit done. And we could save this to the My Creations, but I'm just going to hit don't save. Or well, there we go. I'm just going to cancel that out. I'm going to hit don't save. And it's going to bring us up here. So we are going to select the fabric printer, which is HLJF1. And if you have a sublimation printer too, I know a lot of us have both now, that one's going to be SP1. So just make sure you choose the one that says HLJ. And we are just going to hit print. And it wirelessly connects. And it's going to print out over here.
So somebody asked, do the colors print very true to what you choose in Artspira?
Yes. So that's going to print out. And we'll be able to see it. And I guess we could compare it too.
And then also, does this printer take special ink?
So the inks that it's going to use on the fabric printer here are going to be the inks from Brother, so you have to use theirs. But there's 2 different types of inks, and I'm actually happy I have both side by side. So this one here that says SP01, this is sublimation ink. And then these ones here that say LC, this is going to be for the fabric printer. So this is a regular ink for our inkjet printers, which is what our fabric printer is. So this one is just a regular ink. And then this one's sublimation ink. So this is a different type where whenever you heat it, it does turn into a gas briefly to lock into the fiber for whatever you heat press. So there are two different types of inks. And in fact, I think I put them all in the lineup real quick. So I'm gonna run through those. If you do have these printers and you wanna stock up, it's 10% back in Gloria Bucks. You can never beat that. I swear, we have the best credit back system ever. I don't think any other company does this. So up first is the sublimation ink. So if you have a sublimation printer and you want to stock up on these inks, I would grab them now. So the first one is the yellow. The second one is black. The third one is magenta. And the fourth one is cyan. And then also the sublimation paper, if you want to stock up on as well, that is 10% back. It is a special type of paper for that printer. And then we're going to do the same with the fabric printer in a second. I'm just going to put on the next color real quick. Oh my gosh, look how cute this is. This is just amazing. We used our own fabric. And I swear, Lisa and Sue's digitizing is just absolutely amazing. I'm going to be talking a little bit about their patterns in a second too. Okay, so while that stitches out, so Jenny, the printers don't qualify for the 10% back, so today only the Laura Stars do. Now, up next is the inks for the fabric printer. So the first one is black, and then magenta, yellow, and cyan. And you guys could also just, if you hit the shop all button too, you could go through all the previous products that we've shown so far and select those. So, but here's our flower fabric, which I just think is super cute. And we can just compare next to it. I would say that's pretty true to color. Oh, here we go. I don't know if I could zoom in on it. Maybe if I go back, that way it zooms in a little bit. So side by side, I would say that's very true to color. It's exactly what I would expect. I love that. And so I'm going to kind of prepare this a little bit too for the next thing because I really want to squeeze that in today, guys, with the My Connection feature. So I'm going to show that a little bit today. Now, up next here is going to be, I think we already showed that. So the printable cotton fabric. So the fabric roll. In the bubble, I think it is $79.99. So I didn't even adjust the price for that one yet. I know it went up. So I would stock up on these while you can while it's at that price. And it's also still 10% back on it. So you might say, well, John, that seems like a lot of money for this fabric roll. Now, I looked on Amazon and I compared a couple other brands. For 12 letter cut sheets of printable fabric, it was almost $50. $50 for 12 pre-cut letter sheets. It is not a continuous roll. Now, what I love about the rolls is not only is it continuous, so I could print out a big enough piece as I need for my applique or my lumbar pillow, and I don't have to try to seam it together. It also is 5.4 yards of fabric. That is a lot that you're getting. So comparing the difference in price, and I think 12 letter cut sheets, if I did it correctly, I think it added up to about a little bit more than 2 yards. So 5.4 yards, I would say that's a great value. And so that is just amazing. And also being able to print continuously is the big advantage of the Printmoda printer. And you really cannot beat that. There's nothing else like this on the market. And one thing that Brother does very well, other than make sewing machines, is making printers. So now I'm going to put on this last color real quick. Let's pick out, it says rose. So let's just go with this one, and then I think I like